In unsurprising news, the unhinged Liberal Party is attempting to cheat in the 2024 election. Colorado's unhinged Supreme Court has made it illegal for President Trump to appear on the GOP's primary ballot. The nation has until January 4th to reverse Colorado's decision. Colorado's Supreme Court claims that the 14th Amendment prevents insurrectionists from holding office, but President Trump was never found guilty of insurrection during his second impeachment in 2021. It's not even 2024, and the nation is already experiencing a constitutional crisis.
It's no wonder crooked Joe Biden and the far-left lunatics are desperate to stop us by any means necessary. They are willing to violate the U.S. Constitution at levels never seen before in order to win this election. Joe Biden is a threat to democracy. It's a threat. They're weaponizing law enforcement for high-level election interference because we're beating them so badly in the polls.
Political commentator Styx Hexenhammer 666 thinks the nation's Supreme Court will tell Colorado that Trump wasn't found guilty of insurrection and that the courts do not have legal authority over how political parties conduct their primary elections.
We can probably presume that SCOTUS will reverse that decision. Secondly, this has to do with the primaries, not with the general election. I was unaware of the fact that a state Supreme Court had purview over a function that is effectively run by a party. That is, the primary system and the caucuses in the country are separate from the general election. The general election falls completely under the general legal purview. Supreme Courts, the U.S. government, the FEC, and so forth. That's under their purview. The parties, though, are capable of tinkering around with their primary systems almost to a whim. So I was unaware that a state Supreme Court was capable of doing that for the purposes of a primary.
Political commentator Scott Adams is saying that Americans have every right to believe the 2020 election was stolen. Now that it's clear as day, the Liberal Party is doing everything it can to cheat in the 2024 election. He also warns that the Conservative Party is very close to being ungovernable if this trend continues.
So what I like about this overreach is it gives all of us permission to assume that the 2020 election was rigged, even if there's no proof whatsoever. Because this overreach is so egregious, so obvious, so in your face, and it's really obviously driven by the stop Trump at any cost mentality, right? Because I don't think there's any legal observer who thinks it's going to hold. It looks like TDS, and it looks like stop Trump at any, there's nothing you would stop at to do it. If that's the case today, what would make you think it wasn't the case in 2020? Because I think they were more afraid of him in 2020 than they are even now. I mean, or at least it's a tie. So I think that they've now showed their hand. So people who are, legitimately known to be part of the Democrat Party have now quite publicly shown us that they will stop at nothing. So you think 2020 was a fair election?
Political commentator Tim Pool warned Americans that the Constitution of America could be overthrown in a few short years if the illegal immigration crisis isn't solved. Tim Pool has a theory that the Biden administration is purposely trying to destroy America in an attempt to cover up their corruption and crimes because they know Trump is on the verge of winning next year's election.
It's actually igniting conversations among many people about fleeing the country. I'm not kidding. There are many personalities who have already fled the country. Some of you may know who these people are. You may be watching them from afar. Some big commentators, some smaller commentators, they fled the country already. There are questions about what will happen. I have some ideas, and it is deeply worrying what happens in the next several years. Some have argued that this move being made, the long game, is to create a circumstance not unlike the Civil War, in which the end result will be the destruction of the United States borders and the creation of a nation in which anyone on the planet is entitled to its purse, to its resources, to its social programs. What the argument is Non-citizens are being given the right to vote. They are, absolutely, in New York, California. Non-citizens are being allowed in the country to the tune of millions. And there are many who are arguing what we will see here is, not unlike slavery, a social shift where after this civil war we may be entering, there is a new amendment that says you will not be denied access to any services, the right to vote or participate in any governmental positions based on citizenship status. Meaning, anyone from anywhere in the world has access to the American economy. It would be the end of the United States.
GOP candidate Vivek Ramaswamy pledges to withdraw from the Colorado GOP primary if Trump is not allowed on the ballot.
They have just tried to bar President Trump from the Colorado ballot using an unconstitutional maneuver that is a bastardization of the 14th Amendment to our U.S. Constitution. This was a provision, Section 3, that was designed to bar Confederate members, people who switched to the Confederacy, from actually being able to serve. That's very different than what's at issue here, to say the least. This is a hollowed out husk of what the country was built on. The basic principle that we, the people, select our leadership, not the unelected elite class in the back of palace halls. That's old world Europe, not the United States. That's why I'm making a pledge today that I will withdraw. I pledge to withdraw from the Colorado GOP primary ballot unless and until Trump's name is restored. And I demand that Ron DeSantis and Chris Christie and Nikki Haley do the same thing, or else these Republicans are simply complicit in this unconstitutional attack on the way we conduct our constitutional republic.
President Biden is in favor of cheating in the 2024 election. Here's a quote from President Biden.
Well, I think till söder yourself hade det. We start all more well the 40th of the FISL of the court make that this but it certainly support made against insurrection. And no question about down zero. And you see we doubling down on about having then anyway.
Trump an insurrectionist, sir?
Well, I think certainly it's self-evident. You saw it all. Now, whether the 14th Amendment applies, I'll let the court make that decision. But he certainly supported an insurrection. And no question about it. None. Zero. And he seems to be doubling down on about everything. Anyway.
I'm not sure anyone understood what President Biden said. Let's have Santa Claus repeat what Biden was attempting to say.
Well, I think to self-into yourself enemy. He saw it all. Well, the port did the bottle the FISL of the court make that decision. For he'd certainly support needed insurrection. And no question about. None. Zero. And, he seems to be doubling down on about it anyway.
That was funny. Thanks, Santa Claus. That does it for today's newscast. Remember, I'm the fake one. You all are the real ones. Merry Christmas.